You are standing inside a tent at the edge of the desert, the wabet, the purification workshop, and the body on the table in front of you is being prepared for eternity. Then a man bursts out through the tent flap at a dead run. The people waiting outside don't step aside to let him through. They throw stones at him, screaming, chasing him off the grounds. Nobody stops them. Nobody thinks this is wrong. By the law of this workshop, this exact moment was always going to happen. He is the one who cut the body open. The Greek historian Diodorus Siculus recorded this ritual around the 1st century BCE in his Bibliotheca Historica. The man who makes the incision is called the paraschistes, the slitter. A scribe first marks the exact line on the body's left flank. The slitter cuts along it with a blade of Ethiopian stone, and the instant the cut is made, he runs. The other workers chase him, hurling stones and curses, treating him, in Diodorus's own words, as an object of general hatred for touching the dead. Then the chase ends, and everything flips. The embalmers who step in next, the ones who remove the organs and pack the body, are treated with total respect. They come and go inside the temples freely, welcomed among the priests, considered undefiled. One person on this team commits the violation, everyone else does the honored work. The stoning wasn't punishment. It was theater, a way of making one man carry the guilt of cutting a body so the rest of the process could stay sacred. Standing over all of it, at least symbolically, is a jackal-headed god, Anubis. In tomb paintings and papyri, he crouches beside the embalming table, hands on the body. In real workshops, a priest played that role, wearing an actual jackal mask over his own head like a hood, reading the funerary spells aloud while his own face stayed visible underneath. One surviving example, carved in wood and now held in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, dates to the 19th dynasty, roughly 1292 to 1189 BCE. But Anubis wasn't always the assistant in this story. His image appears on royal tomb equipment as far back as Egypt's first dynasty, around 3150 to 2890 BCE, and through the Old Kingdom he held the top job, Lord of the Dead, the one Egyptians actually prayed to for protection in the afterlife. Long before Osiris ever ruled the underworld, Anubis was the underworld's only administrator. That changed gradually during the Middle Kingdom, roughly 2000 to 1700 BCE. Osiris rose to become king of the dead and inherited Anubis's own honorary title, foremost of the Westerners. Even Anubis's family tree was rewritten. Once the son of the sun god Ra, he became, in the new version, the son of Osiris and Nephthys. Egyptologists trace part of the shift to geography as much as theology. Anubis had his deepest roots in Upper Egypt, while Osiris's cult grew fastest in the delta towns of Lower Egypt. And as the two kingdoms' religious traditions merged, Osiris's version won the bigger stage. Anubis didn't disappear. He got demoted into the job he's still known for today, running the embalming table instead of ruling the kingdom behind it. What actually happened on that table survives in unusual detail, because a Greek tourist wrote it down. Herodotus, in Book 2 of his histories, written around 440 BCE, describes embalmers showing grieving families wooden models of 3 burial packages priced for what a family could afford. The cheapest option skipped the organ removal entirely, just a purge of the intestines and 70 days in Natron. The full version, the one built for a king, started with removing the brain. Herodotus says the embalmers drew the brain out through the nostrils with a hooked iron tool, then rinsed the emptied skull with drugs, and that everything else, the intelligence, the memory, the sense of self, stayed behind in the heart instead. For 2,000 years, that one sentence about the hook sat there half-believed, because nobody had actually tried it on a real body. In 1994, Egyptologist Bob Breyer and anatomist Ronald Wade, director of the University of Maryland's State Anatomy Board, tried it on a donated human cadaver, the first attempt at full ancient-style mummification in roughly 2,000 years. The hook alone couldn't pull the brain out. The tissue was too soft. What worked was squirting water up through the nose first, whisking the brain into liquid, then draining it out. Breyer later described the result plainly as looking like a milkshake. It was exactly the physics Herodotus's one sentence had been describing all along. Their results were published in the German journal Zeitschrift für ägyptische Sprache und Altertumskunde in 1999. Next came a cut along the left flank, the organs removed by hand, cleaned in palm wine, and packed into 4 separate stone jars, one for the liver, one for the lungs, one for the stomach, one for the intestines. Under the Old Kingdom, those jars were plain, undecorated stone. By the New Kingdom, their lids had become sculpted heads. The heart alone stayed inside the body. It had a court date. Those 4 jars had lids shaped like guardian gods, called the 4 sons of Horus: Imseti, Hapi, Duamutef, and Kebe-Senuef. Egyptian funerary texts in the Book of the Dead spell 112 give them an origin story that lands directly on last episode's wound. They were born from Horus's own eye, the one Set tore out and Thoth healed. The eye that survived a war became, generations of scribes later, the reason your organs had names watching over them in the dark. With the organs gone, the empty body was packed inside and out with natron, a naturally occurring salt that pulls water out of tissue the same way it dried the lake beds of the Wadi Natron long before anyone thought to use it on a corpse. Herodotus put the total soak at 70 days. Modern Egyptological analysis narrows that further. Roughly 40 of those days were spent purely on drying. Written instructions for any of it are rare because embalming was mostly a trade secret, passed down out loud from one generation of priests to the next rather than written for outsiders to read. What filled the other days stayed mostly a mystery until 2021, when Egyptologist Sophie Schiert of the University of Copenhagen identified a mummification manual buried inside a much longer medical papyrus, its 2 halves split between the Louvre and her own university's collection, dated to around 1450 BCE, the oldest such manual ever found. It lays out a rhythm. Every 4 days, embalmers reapplied a resin-soaked linen mask to the face to seal and preserve the features, finishing the whole 70-day schedule by day 68, with 2 days left just for ritual. Only then came the linen. Hundreds of yards of it, wound layer over layer. Tutankhamun's mummy alone was wrapped in roughly 4,000 square feet across 16 layers, with more than 140 amulets and pieces of jewelry tucked between the wrappings, plus protective spells written on some of the strips themselves. The body being sealed away wasn't just tissue anymore. It was a name, a status, a legal identity, wrapped in cloth and locked in for the trip through the Duat. Nearly 4,000 years later, those wrapped bodies are still testifying, just to a different kind of examiner. In 2013, cardiologist Randall Thompson led a study, published in The Lancet and nicknamed Horus, that ran whole-body CT scans on 137 mummies from 4 ancient populations, including 76 from Egypt. 34% showed signs of atherosclerosis, hardened arteries, a disease usually blamed entirely on modern fast food and modern couches. The mummies who had it had died on average at 43. The ones without it, at 32, age, not lifestyle, was doing most of the damage. Egypt's dead were arguing back. Not everything holds up under that scanner, Herodotus wrote as an outside tourist, and researchers who've since examined more than 150 real mummies found his description of the evisceration step doesn't always match what the bodies actually show. He also skipped the religious meaning on purpose, by his own admission. Treat his numbers as a good starting map, not a transcript. So go back to that man running from the stones. He wasn't a criminal. He was doing a job someone had to do, absorbing the one violent act a sacred process couldn't avoid, so that everyone downstream of him, the embalmers, the priest in the jackal mask, the family paying for all of it, could stay clean enough to finish the real work. Making sure a name, a body, and everything that counted as a person didn't just stop existing. Anubis lost the throne of the dead. He kept the part of the job that actually touched people. That work only got someone to the doorway of the underworld, sealed and labeled and ready. What waited on the other side was 12 hours long, and it changed shape depending on which hour of the night you were standing in. Next time on Curious Nova, The Amduat, the sun god's nightly voyage through the underworld, hour by hour, all the way to sunrise.